Oh yeah, I'm back. Brian Marks is not on the stream anymore.
That's in round 5, right?
Yeah. We'll also update the round number. Round 5 of 7. Actually, man, this day's flying by. Okay, so Nick leads off with, I guess he won the die roll. He's leading off with an island. Bob's going to start with a Deathrite Shaman. Bulk pass.
Right. So he kept the hand of...
Draws a Verdant Catacombs. So that could be really good because he does have a Wasteland. Okay, so he can waste that bulk. Probably what we'll see happen here. I'm thinking, it looks like he has a Goyf, so maybe a waste Volk, cast Goyf.
Just stifles?
Yes, I believe that is a Stifle. Stifle, Ponder, Goyf, Waste, Brainstorm, and then I think Fetch and something else.
Fetch return.
Float blue in response. Move to second main.
As is tradition.
That might be another Deathrite Shaman underneath that Verdant Catacombs in his hand. I think that's what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to leave mana up for Stifle here. Which is absolutely...
pretty important when you come out with the Wasteland plan.
Yeah, you just kind of always want to keep Stifle up if you can. If you have it in the deck. So he's going to play a second Deathrite, and then he's going to pass, leaving Stifle up. So Nick plays a fetch, but doesn't use it because he doesn't need to. Which makes sense.
He may want to shuffle that last card away from Brainstorm, though, at some point, or attempt to.
Yeah. So I think Bob drew it. Yeah, I think he drew another Stifle.
Lit.
Stifle's one of those interesting cards. It can do a lot of different things that you wouldn't anticipate. Like, it just interacts with a lot of things. So in this deck, I mean, of course, the main reason you play it is basically as a land destruction spell. You can blow up, you can stop fetch lands, get a lot of value, a lot of tempo out of that. But one of the other things it can do in this game is Nick could theoretically cast a sneak and show or a sneak attack with, like 1 mana available, and then when he activates it, you can stifle the activation. And like, yeah, it's not a permanent answer to sneak attack, but it can be enough to win the game. It's one of the things I always loved about Stifle when I was playing Delver decks.
And if Bob is playing Baleful Strix, you can stifle the Annihilator trigger from Nemmercool to block. Or stifle the activation of a Gristlebrand, which is pretty huge.
True. Oh, yeah. Stifling the pay 7 with Gristlebrand, that's a backbreaker. Brutal. Yeah. Yeah, and the Annihilator trigger, yeah. Because it's not Emrakul, you're targeting the ability, so it doesn't have protection from colored spells. I think Nick's resolving a Brainstorm here. Not cracking the fetch, though. I guess the cards are good enough that he wants to keep them. Or at least one of them. So, we're going to see a fetch crack here. He might be wise to the Stifles here. It looks like he's kind of playing around it.
Ponder. He knows the top part.
Yeah. So this is at the point we're in round 5. These players are, I believe, X and O. No, they have 9 match points. So are we in round 5?
They should be table 1.
They are table 1.
Yeah, we are in round 5. They should be XO, right?
This is round 4.
Is this round 4? No, because I dropped the deck.
This is last round's pairings.
Yeah.
So these players should be XO. They were sitting next to each other. They were table 1 and 2 last round. So they've been playing next to each other for probably a few rounds today. So Nick may just be aware that Bob is playing Stifles in his deck. And that's why he's playing around it. So he's going to crack a fetch here.
Oh, we don't have life totals. We have 19, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's the first time life totals have changed.
Oh, neat.
Because he's been using the Deathrites for mana, hasn't attacked. So Bob does get a fetch land with a Stifle here. That leaves him with a pretty imposing board position. He's got 2 Deathrite Shamans and a Tarmogoyf with 2 lands against Nick's basic island.
Let me see, a Wasteland, a Ponder, 2 Delvers.
It looks like Wastelands, Ponder, Stifle, Delver,
Delverland. Or no.
Spell Pierce, I
Pierce,
think,
okay.
and then a Fetch Land.
And what's what if we have land, instant sorcery? Yeah, spell pierce.
Yes.
We can see him keep stifle, spell pierce, delver, and fetch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important.
Now, Spell Pierce is an interesting one. So I really like this card. And I'll tell you why. So recently somebody did an analytic. They ran an analytics on the top 8 finishing Legacy decks of all the Legacy GPs that have ever happened since the format's inception. And they basically said, okay, you know, they took all the cards and all the decks that have been played in the top 8s, and they said they counted them up, right? So that's going to be, hang on, how much is Goyf right now? Goyf is instant land sorcery.
Yeah.
Instant land sorcery, so he's a 3, so that's 4 damage to Nick. All right. So one of the interesting things that I saw from that
There we go.
from that analytic was, oh, here we go, show and tell. And Bob's got the Spell Pierce. So unless Nick could have a forcible backup, we'll see. So yeah, so they basically said, okay, how many times was each card played? And only 2 Planeswalkers have ever been played in a top 8 Legacy deck at a GP, and it's
Really?
Jace and Liliana. Those are the only 2. And then, for instance, Spell Pierce was more played than Lightning Bolt.
Wow.
Yeah, it showed up in more decks than Lightning Bolt, and I was like, wow. So I don't know if you've ever. I'm sure you've cast a Spell Pierce or 2 in your time playing Legacy.
I definitely have.
Getting a card with Spell Pierce feels really strong.
It's very unfair from the other side too.
Yeah, I mean, like they tap out for Jace or they leave one up playing around days, and then you Spell Pierce it instead, and they're like, oh, ugh. So that's one I've tried to start fitting at least one copy of it into in all my Legacy deck, all my blue Legacy decks, moving forward. Oh, so Bob took a point to crack a fetch there.
He's cracked 2. He cracked both catacombs that you had last turn.
Oh, gotcha. He's attacking for how many now? We got sorcery, instant, land. Still just 3, right?
Yeah. And he couldn't flip the Delver because he had to shuffle because of the spell pierce.
So 4 damage to Nick. And he's got 2 Death Rights active. This clock is building up very quickly. If he
Just
flips
the
Delver,
next turn,
I think it's lethal.
Because he goes to 4, goes 7, then untaps and goes.
Drain.
Yeah, he's dead next turn.
Yeah, he's dead. He's facing lethal. So it's now or never for Nick Ditizio in game 1.
And we're done here.
And that's it. All right. So that's game 1 goes to Bob Marshall. That's pretty much how you draw it up as the Delver player. You have some disruption, you have some stifles, getting some fetch lands, mess with your opponent's game plan just enough to let your clocks get there. So Nick looks like he's got a sideboarding guide that he's written on some loose leaf paper. I haven't seen loose leaf paper in like 10, 15 years, man. Who uses loose leaf?
I actually saw
Where do you even buy that?
Saw some players talking about or showing off some little neat sideboard guides I had made, which were like on a Magic set editor. They just used they have the fuse cards. So one side is the inside, is what's going in. The other side is what's going out. Then you have the title of the card being the matchup name.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So you just have these little tokens in your sideboard there, just to look through, figure out what you want to bring in, bring out. Just a little neat guide.
It's nifty. I'm not. So sometimes I use sideboarding guards, sometimes I don't. I think I've only actually really used one in Legacy once, and this was the first Quest for Power after the Eldrazi thing happened. And Paul Lynch and Mike Scheffnacker and I were working on breaking this deck. And so we got together the day before and we play tested it literally all day. And we came up with a sideboarding card and we printed it out and we had it all day long. And it was pretty good, but I didn't do so hot in the event. It's one of those, I didn't draw very well. It's pretty much you're dead if you're playing Eldrazi. You don't draw very well.
You don't have card selection.
Yeah, you don't get to play Brainstorm, so basically, do you have Chalice? Yes? All right, well, you're in pretty good shape. Yeah, Chalice decks are fun, very powerful, but it's like 50% of playing the deck is in mulligan decisions and in drawing well. If you draw well, if you mulligan correctly, you'll win a lot of games. So, do we have deck lists? I don't think we do.
Yeah.
No, those are all pairings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can grab deck lists. Maybe we can take a look at what these players are deciding on.
See, Bob's ready and shuffling up for game 2.
All right. Sure, I'll give you next. All right. So as I mentioned, Bob Marshall is playing a deck that he's named Bug Tombstalkers, even though it's just Bug Delver. There's no Hymn to Torok, so this is just Bug Delver. So his sideboard is 1 True Name Nemesis, 1 Divert, ooh, that's spicy, 1 Umezawa's Jite, 2 Marsh Casualties, good one in a True Name format, Pithing Needle, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Abrupt Decay, 1 Force of Will, 2 Flusterstorm, 1 Invasive Surgery, 1 Null Rod, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, and 2 Surgical Extractions. So against these combo decks, sorceries, so Invasive Surgery is good because it counters Show and Tell, straight up. Null Rods might be okay because you can get the Lotus Petals, but I don't know.
Lotus Petal. I would not bring it in here.
Yeah. Probably brings in the 4th Force of Will. 2 Flusterstorm perhaps, but it doesn't do anything against Sneak Attack. Definitely the Pithing Needle. That's pretty much it.
I would consider bringing in Surgical here, just because if you can get there, like, I don't know, maybe not.
Sure.
Do we have any discard from Bob's side?
No. No, we do not. No discard at all. So he's got, his main deck is 4 Delver, 4 Deathrite, 4 Goyf, 3 Bob, 1 True Name, 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm, 3 Stifle, 3 Spell Pierce, 3 Force of Will, 4 Daze, 3 Fatal Push, 2 Abrupt Decay, and then 4 Wasteland, and then the standard land package.
I do expect to see all the Fatal Push and Abrupt Decays come out here from Bob's side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that's 5 out. So I think if you're taking 5 out, I think Surgical can come in because you got lots of room for it.
From Nick's side over here, we have a Grim Lavamancer, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, a Pyroclasm, a Reb, a Pyroblast, a Boseiju who shelters all, 2 Through the Breach, a Wipe Away, 2 Blood Moon, a Flusterstorm, 2 Grafter's Cage, and then a last-minute Kozilek's Return. Looks like it was added here.
Yeah, he added 1 Kozilek's Return at the end. So definitely the Red Blast and Pyroblast, Pyroclasm probably, Grim Lavamancer for sure. So in the meantime, players have started. Oops, excuse me. Both have cracked a fetch land, so Nick opened up with Island Lotus Petal. Bob's gonna crack a fetch for C, and we'll see what he goes and gets. Probably a Deathrite Shaman, maybe yeah. Either that or a Delver. So always a good solid start from a Delver deck. Deathrite Shaman's, I mean, in most cases, it's actually probably your preferable turn 1 play.
And does Nick have it?
So Nick is going to cast Brainstorm. Is that end step Brainstorm?
No, this is main phase.
Oh, main phase.
So
Okay.
you cast Ponder turn 1. I believe. Okay, the attacks on hand.
Might be digging for lands. He should know. He knew the top card, so he's probably might be digging for lands here. What else might Nick bring? So Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, probably Pyroclasm, probably Grim Lavamancer. Kozilek's Return, also that.
I saw him boarding like 8 cards or something, like between 6 and 8, like just shuffling in.
So he might have brought in the Ditizio.
1, 2, 3. I would expect the Blood Moon to be coming in actually. Blood Moon is very strong against Delver, especially after they board out the Abrupt Decays, or you expect them to.
Yeah, the 2 Blood Moons, probably the Flusterstorm. Flusterstorm is good in the counterspell matchups. Nick's gonna take another one. He's cracking a Flooded Strand here. Looks like he found his land. Just get the old good Brainstorm combo, Wombo combo. Draw 3, put 2 trash cards back, and then shuffle them away.
Basically recall.
Yeah. Except you don't have to discard the hand size, usually.
And we have Bob on tapping. Not dead. It's always a good feeling.
Not dead yet. He's got a Wasteland in his hand, just sitting there not doing anything. He's got Ponder, Delver, Stifle, Wasteland, and some cards that he keeps hiding from us. So he's going to Ponder.
I'm looking for more disruption here. So he's Goyf,
Deathrite. Yeah,
Delver.
I think he wants lands. Colored lands, not Wastelands. Yeah, Wasteland's a weird one in this matchup. Like, it's good if they just, like, run out an Ancient Tomb, but it's bad because half the time they just play those and then immediately combo off, so you definitely don't, like, cut it or anything, but it's not as effective as it could be.
New Reanimator? I haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any.
That's a Bob.
That is a Bob in his hand. Bob Marshall playing Bob. All right.
Do you expect to see him get done for 5 years with Force?
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Take 5, get Emmer cold, game's over.
Yeah, I mean, if he's playing Dark Confidant, it's tough to play Tombstalker in the same deck, and people have done it, but it's tough to do it. Old Team America, I think, before Delver, they used to play Tombstalkers, and it was like, ugh, take 8 from Bob, get wrecked.
Sometimes you just can't be afraid. We saw an end-step Brainstorm from Nick here. Now he's untapping and casting a Ponder.
Yep, just not really under a super high amount of pressure. He's got some time to sculpt his hand, get things set up properly, play around all the counter spells that are likely to come out of Bob's deck. Might be expecting some discard, but as we mentioned, Bob has actual 0 discard in his 75. So cracking a fetch. It's the 3rd fetch cracked of the game for Nick Ditizio. See a mountain here. Yep, still Wasteland proof in his mana base.
The Bob really kills the usefulness of his Stifle here.
Yeah. And that's where, like, so I'm not surprised to see Bob keep it in. So Stifle's an awkward one to keep in. If you resolve one in game 1, you have to debate whether or not you want to really keep him in game 2. Now he didn't have a lot to bring in this matchup, so it's understandable that he kept him in. But you know, it's hard to get somebody twice. Bob's gonna take 2 here from Revealing Days to Bob. And now that now Nick sees the days, so now he knows to play around that at least. He's probably also playing around Spell Pierce, having seen it last game. So one of the tricky things about Spell Pierce, though, is, I mean, it's relatively easy to play around days. It can be difficult, but getting 1 extra mana is not that big of a deal. But getting 2 is kind of tricky. And sometimes you just like you can't wait that long. And that's why it's so good in the Delver decks, is because they can't afford to wait long enough to play around it, and so it just always acts like a hard counter. It's great.
Delta stifle. Do you expect him to try to get rid of these stifles here?
I think he should. It's not really doing anything because Nick already has 3 lands in play, as well as a Lotus Petal. Stifle's not. I mean, he's probably not going to get him with a Stifle at this point. He kept 1.
Needle is big here.
Needle's really good, and he can even cast it with Wasteland, so it doesn't even deprive him of any of his colored mana sources. So yeah, definitely casting Needle, and I would assume Sneak Attack.
I would not be surprised to see Nick fight over this or attempt to.
Looks like he's naming Sneak Attack, and Nick's going to let it resolve. That only shuts off one avenue of victory for Nick. He can easily show and tell. He also has Through the Breach, which he could, if he sees Pithing Needle. Now he's seen Pithing Needle, so it takes 2 from a Bob hit. He's seen Pithing Needle, so now I expect him to bring in Through the Breach in Game 3 if it goes to Game 3.
I find Through the Breach a little suspect personally, just because of the Delver, the Dazes and the Spell Pierces.
That's
when you're
true.
19 lands against a Wasteland deck.
Ooh, and here's a Blood Moon. It's really good. Deathrite's got some fuel, but that's just gonna shut Bob out. I don't think he's playing no basics, so he cannot crack this Delta for anything. That Blood Moon's just turning everything into a mountain right now, unless he can do something about it. Now he has a Daze, but Nick can pay for the Daze with Petal. He can Brainstorm, try to find Force of Will. I would assume he kept those in. There's no reason to cut those against the combo matchup.
He does have Deathrite active, so you can try to brainstorm those Spell Pierce. Does he have just the 1, or how many does he have?
Spell Pierce? He has 3 Spell Pierce. He also probably brought in the 2 Flusterstorms, but that wouldn't help him here. Yeah, he's a lot of live draws, but he's got to get one of them. I think another Daze would also work, because he could Daze twice. That would actually be really good, because then Nick would have to lose his Lotus Petal to pay for 1. So he's got Dazes, he's got Spell Pierces, he's got Force of Wills. Let's see if he drew any of them. I think that's is it a Delver or a Spell Pierce?
Ponder,
It's a Spell Pierce.
So we got there with him.
Phew! That was a close one.
I see Spell Pierce and probably something fighting back from Nick. And then we can Daze that, unless it's Flusterstorm.
Yeah, I would anticipate if Nick let the Pithing Needle go, he's probably got a force to back up this Blood Moon. And if that's the case, Bob's going to be in a tough spot. Not a dead spot. He's got Deathrite, and there's 4 lands in graveyards right now.
Pirates will really be blown after this.
Yeah. Eat your land, Spell Pierce your Blood Moon. And that's going to get there. All right. That's really good news for Bob Marshall. Now he's in a really good spot. He's going to take 1.
Set that up with the Brainstorm.
Yep.
Bob keeping all these good cards in his hand.
Yeah, he's got gas. Delver, Goyf, Deathrite, Ponder, Stifle, and Daze. Yeah, let's just get some more. Goyf, Trop, C, I believe is what he pondered. He's going to shuffle that away.
Does not want to draw those 2 lands, especially without another source to shuffle with.
Yeah, he needs interaction. He needs counter spells specifically. He should have a lot into the deck post board. He's got everything else he needs in his hand. He just needs counter spells right now.
Then we draw from Ponder. What did we find?
We found another land. Looked like a C.
Yep.
Good news is he does have a clock. Deathrite is not able to drain right now.
He will with that C though.
But I think he's gonna. His plan is, yeah. Now he does. Now Deathrite can drain. I think he's gonna tap that, play Goyf, add to the clock. Goif's pretty big. Got land, instant, sorcery, enchantment.
And then that pedal once we get that cracked.
Yeah.
Is our confidant better than True Nemesis for Leave Old and Bugged Over? It's really hard to say. I know, I believe I saw one True Name in Sideboard for Bob over there.
One in the side, one in the main.
Does he have any Leovolds there?
No, he has no Leovolds.
It's really just a matter of, how do I best put it? It can be hard to cast sometimes when you're playing such a land light deck, especially in Delver. Like you see that at the sideboard sometimes for like the grindier matchups, like Miracles or Shardless, just because they're trying to interact with you. But it's hard to say, really.
Yeah, the argument of Bob versus True Name. I mean, so Bob is good in some matchups, and True Name is good in others. They have some overlap. It's not like one is good when the other is bad.
Doing something.
Stifling the fetch.
Show and tell. Here we go.
That's going to let that resolve. Then he's going to cast Show and Tell. And Bob just has to let this one hit.
I wouldn't be surprised for days here, just so he doesn't get sneak attacked immediately.
Yeah, you have to daze. Like you said, you can prevent yourself from getting sneak attacked. Nick has already played a land for the turn. You played the Tarn. So if it's sneak attack, then you don't get Emrakuled, but which is lethal here and exactly lethal, incidentally. And he can put the Delver in his hand into play.
So an interesting point here is we have Nick at 12 already. We have 2 Underground Seas, so 2 Black Sources. Goif is now 1, 2, 3, something like 5 probably.
Yeah, it should be 5. Yeah, that's right. Needle's naming sneak attack.
Oh, you're right. Yep. So we have a Goif at 5.
So Show and Tell, put in Grizzlebrand, and Bob puts in Delver. Ironically, if he had kept in his Abrupt Decays and Fatal Pushes, he could get around this Grizzlebrand, but this is going to be tough for him to come out of.
Needle's on sneak attack, which we may have forgotten.
Yeah, we totally forgot about that.
Bob didn't, though. Alright.
This is one of those situations, like, this is where the red Delver decks can be better, because you have the reach, you also can, like, well, say my Goif's a 4/5, like, I can attack into Grizzlebrand, you block the Goif to get the biggest creature off the table, and I bolt it, or something like that. It's also one of the situations where Dismember is better than Fatal Push, because Dismember would be sweet right now for Bob.
Big ol' 7/7 Necropotence.
Yep.
Or Yogbarg, to be more appropriate.
This one's looking pretty good for Nick. I don't think Bob has any outs to a resolved Grizzlebrand in his 75. Yeah, he has nothing that he can do to this Grizzlebrand now that it's in play. And he also probably boarded out all of his spot removal, like I said, so he probably can't, like, normally you could, like, attack into the Grizzlebrand and then just shoot dead the
blocked one,
the creature that gets blocked so that he doesn't gain the lifelink damage, but Bob can't do that because he probably took all of it out.
He brought in Jace. I am a little surprised to see that.
Wow. Jace the Mind Sculptor, okay. Well, it's fine in this context. Not like he needs the card advantage.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce death rate or something. Yeah, it's definitely not over. There's.
I don't know how Bob comes out of this, though. I mean,
Nick is definitely favored, yeah.
Yeah, Nick's Grizzlebrand is basically on defense. If he attacks with it, he could die.
He does get 19, but then he gets drained for 4, goes to 15, then Bob untaps and can, if he flips it over, can just kill him.
Yeah, so that's the trick here is, so Nick has to play defense this Grizzlebrand, which means he can't attack. So these Death Rights are, well, he can attack, I guess. But he's running a risk here, attacking. I think he doesn't have I don't know if he has a choice. But
Now the question is Nick dead?
If Bob flips both of these Delvers, that could be, that's 3, 6, plus 2 from Bob is 8.
Plus the 5 from Goyf, I believe.
5 from Goyf would be 13, plus Deathrite Drains would be 17. So Nick would, he'd be 2 short. Oh, yep. So he would be, yeah, he's got enough. If he flips the Delvers,
Is Nick dead?
I believe he wins the game.
A Jace Fate Seal would not have been the worst here.
Yeah. If I'm Nick, I probably Fate Seal there. And he might be thinking that too, like, crap, if he
But even then, you
Delvers.
just stack the Bob triggers differently. You just Bob first and then try to...
Right, well, if he Fate
Yeah.
Seals and leaves it, yeah, you just stack the Bob trigger first. That's true. Maybe a Jace -1. Bounce the Goyf or something. It's a tropical island. That sucks.
Nope. Not when you flip one.
So
No,
he flipped 1. That actually might be enough.
3,
I
4,
think that's
5,
enough.
5.
3 from Delver, 4 from the other Delver, 5, 6 from Bob, including Bob.
Doing the math.
Drain with Deathrights is 10, and Goyf is 5, 6? If Goyf is 5, that's lethal.
I really like how Bob stacked the triggers there, putting one Delver and the Bob in between.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. Just in case the first one didn't flip, he could get rid of that non-flipping card and then get the other, and possibly get another roll. Yeah, that was really smart, and because it still is lethal, and that's
Here we
gonna
go.
do it. Bob Marshall wins 2-0.
It's resolved.
That was a really, really close game, and that was very well played by Bob Marshall there.
I definitely agree that Nick could have. I don't think he needed to play Jace there. He could have drawn 7 afterwards, or up to 14, just trying to get a. What was it? A Pyroclasm.